Ladies and gentlemen, it is a huge day today. This is a huge episode and the biggest on record. After 4 years of recording this podcast, releasing a new episode and a new blueprint every Tuesday, we have just hit 200 episodes. I can't believe that I've actually been doing this for 200 episodes now. To celebrate, I'm going to take you through my 17 lessons learned in 2023. So if you're a high performer, you're into wealth creation, investment or property, the 17 highest value things that I learned in 2023, I'm going to share in this podcast. And then for those of you that stay tuned right till the end, I'm going to share my year of my personal and professional objectives for 2024. Who knows whether we'll get to 2,000 episodes, but up to here, it's been a great journey. Thank you all for your feedback. Thank you for your support. Let's get into the next episode and give you more value from the Blueprint podcast, celebrating our 200th episode. So in 2023, we had hundreds of thousands of downloads. We were number 7 in the UK property podcast chart. We were top 5% in the world for all downloaded podcasts. And this podcast contributed to over £1 million worth of trickle down revenue. The podcasts are very well worth doing. They do take time. They do take commitment. They do take energy, effort, and in our case, cost. However, for the gains that we've got, the value it's added for us, it's been a genuine win-win. And the feedback that we get from our audiences is consistently worthwhile. What I'm going to do is take you through this podcast for the 200th episode, the 10 lessons that I learned in 2023. You'll actually see that there's 17. And stay tuned to the end and I will share with you my 2024 year of, my personal objectives and my professional objectives for the year ahead. So my lessons learned for 2023. Well, the first is world-class people and world-class packages equal world-class results. What you'll find as an entrepreneur is when you start out and you're bootstrapping, you basically have the best you can afford and you make up for poor performance or poor expertise with energy and effort, and you all drive a startup business. It's just how it works. That said, when you get to the other end of the spectrum and you pay for the professionals, the aim of the game is just to find the best people in the market, like a Richard Branson or an Elon Musk would. Find the best people in the game, put them on your team, and that ultimately means success. A lesson learned for me last year was if you can find world-class people, you then give them world-class positions, packages, and PDPs, you will get world-class results, which is a win-win-win, win for them, win for you, and win for the business. The second is being liked and respected are two very different leadership styles. And what I would say is I've been fortunate over the last decade or so to have some very strong managers work with me, and they've done a lot of the management in the companies and running the businesses day to day. I, however, have very much always been a leader for the last 20 years, whether it was selling pogs and slammers or running local paper rounds or running a mobile disco company. I was the leader. I was the one rallying the troops, making it fun, driving the business forward, and that was great. It worked really, really well. But last year, what I realised is I probably am more of a likeable leader. You know, I look after people, see the best in people, and perhaps haven't previously given the level of accountability or feedback or just frank direction that some people actually need to enable them to do a good job. Because I've always relied on the managers that I've had. However, this year, one of my objectives was a world-class conductor, which is about the levels, blue level being a conductor, world-class being the best about it, and Coach Carter accountability. And if you've seen the film Coach Carter, you'll see that he comes from a leadership position, but he's also a very relentless coach. And it was a true story. It was an amazing film. Recommend watching it. And putting that into practice and being Coach Carter and actually giving people very clear, concise, not aggressive or rude or beating them over the head with my ego, but just being really, really frank and really direct and just giving feedback where it was needed rather than pulling punches actually added a lot of value. You've got to know how to deliver it, and you've got to deliver critique in the same way you would a compliment, But actually doing that with my team made visible improvement because they appreciated the respect. They were blind spots they weren't aware of. And obviously there's some transition and it takes a while to get used to it. But the performance after that, from having the confidence to deliver feedback and doing it clearly and concisely without mishitting it, had huge, huge values. And moving from being a liked leader to a respected leader has been very effective for me in the last 12 months. The third is that health is the number one success that nobody is celebrating. And what I mean by this is you may be well fit and healthy now, but you probably take it for granted. Or maybe you're not that fit and healthy and you smoke, you overdrink, you overeat, you don't exercise, but you're not necessarily ill from it yet. Health is the number one success that nobody celebrates. Like, we should celebrate the fact that we have a physical body that's free of, as far as we're aware, illness and disease, and celebrate that, enjoy it, invest in it, and actually take pride and care over the body we've got. You know, there's a great quote that says that take care of your body. It's the only place you have to live. It's just so true. You know, whatever you believe about the spirit and the soul, this physical body that you're going to live this life in, you only have one. And like Warren Buffett said, if you were given a car on your 16th birthday or 17th birthday, and it was the only car you were ever going to have for the rest of your life, and when it's done, you would probably wash it, you would probably service it, you would probably change the oil and look after it and not rag the living daylights out of it. The same happens for our bodies, and we want to invest in that. And I've realised for the first time this year, appreciated that I've taken my health for granted. I wouldn't say I've ever abused it, and I've always been into health and fitness, but I've never truly respected it. And this year I've taken my health, my nutrition, my well-being, my self-care to a next level, and just really appreciating the fact that being healthy and free of disease, cancers, illnesses is a gift, is a privilege, and it should be honoured, respected, and celebrated. The fourth is that relationships are like flowers, water them. And this is whether they're suppliers, they're people in your team, or they're your relationships at home with friends, family, your loved ones, is if you water a flower, it will thrive. If you neglect it, it will wilt. And the more you look after them, the better it will get. I would say I've experienced that more of a positive this year, investing in those relationships, and got great results from it. Equally, if you neglect them and you don't look after them, they will deteriorate. The fifth is that stress is poison, and that's the problem. And this one's for me specifically. And those of you that have been long-term listeners will have heard me go on my own journey, and in recent years get lost, not know where I'm going, burn myself out, get into a dark place where I don't want to do what I'm doing anymore. And what I've realised this year is that stress is a big contributor to that. Stress is actually poison. And then 9 times out of 10, stress is actually the problem. When I get burnt out, or I get into a dark place, or I start to question the meaning of life and why I'm doing what I'm doing, often in reflection, it was because I was stressed. And now if I'm stressed, I tend to think like that. If I'm not stressed, it's no coincidence, I don't tend to think like that. And actually, I'm at a point now where I don't want stress on my body. For the last 10, or for the first maybe 10, 15 years of running my business, I wanted the stress. You know, I wanted the outcome. I wanted the achievement. I wanted the money. I wanted the gold medal. So putting myself under a load of stress was just the cost of admission. You know, I didn't care. I didn't mind. I just absolutely went for it. Whereas nowadays, I'm less interested in that. I want to have a good balance. The outcome I've already achieved. I don't want to trade off and the sacrifice. So I actually want less stress, not more. And that is a poison to me. A mantra that I picked up last year is that I don't work, I create. And if it's work, I delegate it to somebody else. And this was really around the mindset of understanding the part that I play in the team. And the more I work, the less I'm worth. And by work, I mean heavy lifting, functional, operational, sitting at my laptop doing something. The more that I do like traditional work, the less I'm worth. And actually, the more value I can actually add more value if I'm creating things. whether it's a vision, an idea, a solution, whatever it is. That is where the value is created for me. So I don't work, I create, and if it's work, I actually give it to somebody else. The seventh is similar to that, is the less that I work, the more that I'm worth. And actually, the less that I'm stuck in the work and the day-to-day, the more to the team and the business I'm actually worth. And that's another sentiment based on number 6, because most of my value is created in my mind, not in my hands. And actually, that's number 9, is from a leadership perspective, like I'm very much moving up to this chairman role now. And it's, you can have my head, but not my hands. And I can quite often offer tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of advice and direction and decision-making in a 30-second WhatsApp because of what's in my head, my experience, my expertise, my wisdom, but also the way I think, my logic, my pragmatic approach, my strategic thinking, my planning, all of that stuff that's quite unique to me is highly valuable, and it's in my head, not in my hands, sitting there doing it for you, writing it out for you, creating that for you. So you can have my head, but you can't have my hands. Going back to number 8, as I've become more and more distanced from the businesses, the teams, even in Property Entrepreneur, our training programs, what I've realised is whilst I might think people need me, and other people definitely think they need me, they don't actually need me, they need my blueprints. And there's only so much value I can add to people and so much impact I can have if it all relies on me being there and delivering and talking and being in the team. Really, the value for my future and for the future of my team and my businesses and my clients is in the assets that I create. And as I said at the beginning of the trailer to this podcast, 200 episodes, I never once think about, I don't want to give you maximum value. Like, you listen to any of these podcasts, going back to the early ones, it's me trying to download what's in my head, try and download. Somebody said to me the other day, for one of their objectives for next year, download Dan. It's basically downloading Dan into the podcast. So when somebody wants to know about how to structure bonuses or how to do development or how to create wealth, I go and say, oh, go and listen to the Bonus Brainache podcast, or go and listen to the 10 Layers of Wealth podcast. You know, it's all there to be understood. There's no, I'm not holding anything back. It's all the values there. You don't need me. You need my blueprints and my assets. Number 10 is the fast lane is a fallacy. The middle lane is for masters. Working smart is harder than working hard. So the fast lane is a fallacy. And what I mean by that, there's always a time and a place. When you've got limited resources or you're in the fast lane, absolutely. You've got to do it. You've got to burn yourself out. There's a time and a place for everything. Where I am now, the fast lane for me is a fallacy. It reduces my productivity, not increase it. It reduces my drive and motivation, not increase it. It reduces my efficiency and my effectiveness, not increase it. The middle lane is actually for the masters at my level, where they can be that, they can work, but they can think and they can create and they can execute, and it's all in balance. And I think a lesson for me personally is that middle lane is for master for me at this point. I've absolutely mastered beast mode. There's probably very few people in our industry, space, place that have executed that as consistently as I have. If you want to go beast mode, I can show you how to physically, emotionally, mentally push yourself to places you never knew existed. But there's a time and a place for that. I don't need to be a beast mode now. I need to be a best self. I need a middle lane, not a fast lane. And the next podcast is actually about explaining that, because a lot of people have asked, what does that mean? Well, I'm going to explain that in the next podcast episode. And also, working smart is harder than working hard. And this isn't for those of you that are starting out, because you need to work hard, because you're not smart. You need to burn, you need to touch the hob and realise it's hot, and you need to burn yourself. You need to make mistakes. You need to fail fast. But for those of you that are making money and you're caught in that trap of working hard, actually working smart is harder than working hard, because when you've been doing it for 10, 20 years, it's easy to turn up and smash it out the park. But actually, when you get into it and think, right, I need to work smart, stopping and creating blueprints, learning how to delegate, recruiting the right team, setting up frameworks and dashboards and KPI reports and leadership frameworks, all of this stuff is, you have to be smart to do it. Understanding the task triangle and SCS leadership. There's podcasts on all of these things. Is harder than working hard. Any idiot can turn up and work hard. Working smart is actually harder than working hard. Number 11 is the secret to success is consistently raising your standards. And this year I taught the property entrepreneurs at the launch event about raising standards. And what I've realised is actually, if in the corporate world, they would call it like a CIP, a continuous improvement program. In our space, I call it raising the standards. And it's like you want to constantly raise your standards if you want to raise your game. And that is really a secret to success, is do what you've got to do, figure it out, and then raise your standards, go to the next level. Look at how you speak. Look at how you lead. Look at how you make money. Look at how you manage money. Look at how you spend money. Look at how you do deals. Look at how you dress. Look at how self-groomed you are. Like, consistently raise standards and it will take you to the next level. Number 12 is at the highest level, you must focus on outputs over inputs. And what I mean by that is, for those of you who are genuinely at CEO level and like me moving into a chairman level, all it matters about is the right senior management, the right directors, the right people in your team to run the business. Because actually, all you care about is the output. Like, what are they going to release for you based on the key KPIs or the data dashboards you look at, the scoreboards? You know, that's what you care about at the highest level, the outputs that your team deliver. It's not down for you at the highest level to worry about the inputs. So, for example, I know how to build a property management dashboard, or I know how to build a property management operations manual, or I know how to schedule out a £10 million property development. But it's not down to me to do that. It's down to me to understand the output. And the output is, I need a project management schedule. I need 100% compliance on my portfolio. I need to hit X amount gross net margin. I need to hit X amount of sales, or the business to hit those sales. How the team go about it is down to your board of directors. It's down to your senior management team. It's down to your heads of departments. At the top level, you want to know what your output is, and you're paying for the team to know what the inputs are. The next is no regrets. Number 13, no regrets. Life is for living, live it. You know, this isn't necessarily about regretting the things you've done, because I think I'm pretty good at that. I think I'm not saying I always get things right, but I am saying I don't spend a lot of time regretting them, because I understand it's part of life. And when we fail at things, I don't get upset. I'm not attached to the outcome. I'm not reliant on the results. I just take it is what it is, reflect, learn, don't go around in the failure loop. But what I mean here is no regrets, is make sure you make the most of time. Life is for living, live it. Don't wait till you get to 60, 70, 80 and retire and then think you're going to start living your life. Like, now's your life. You're fit, you're healthy, you're compos mentis. Go and do the things you want to do. Don't wait till the end of life. A good friend of mine says, life is like a fine bottle of wine. It's to be sipped. It's to be enjoyed. It's not to stay on the shelf and wait till the end of time. Number 14 is think big. And this is an interesting one. And what I mean by this, again, this is what I teach on Property Entrepreneur, is thinking big is all about choosing targets that are in sight but out of reach. And what I mean by that is they're in sight, so it's realistic. You know somebody, or you've seen somebody, or you know that it's physically or mentally or strategically possible, but it's out of reach. And what I mean by that is the way you think at the moment won't get you there. You can't do it with your current skill set, mindset, decision-making process, attitude. It's think big. It's out in sight and realistic, but it's out of reach. You need to level up to get there. And in sight but out of reach. It may be maybe a challenge, or just a limiting belief. And for me, this was my new house. So I've now bought, moved into, and living in a 10,000 square foot, 13 bed, grade 2 star listed mansion, which if you'd have asked me 6 months ago if that was within my reach, I'd have thought no. I'd have thought it would require a huge, multi-million pound mansion, would require a huge deposit, huge mortgage, huge overheads. And I'm just not there yet. But when I sat there and broke it down, not only, and really, this took me weeks, breaking it down, looking at the data, looking at the facts, looking at the deposit, the mortgage, the overheads, the cost, the tax implications of drawing the money that's required to run a house like that. You then need maintenance teams, groundsmen, basically on-site and in-house staff to help you run the place. It was in sight. I knew it was possible and I knew I would ultimately end up there. It was always my dream house, but it was out of reach. I just didn't think I was in a position to do it. Whereas actually, after weeks of drilling into the detail, I realised not only was it not a challenge, it was just a limiting belief. And actually, when I ran the numbers, not only could I comfortably afford to buy the house and live there, actually, within my existing financial fortress, I could live there completely free of charge, and I could release the money to use for the deposit out of a deal that I was just doing. So my financial fortress paid for 100% of the deposit, and living there on a daily basis, including the Rolls Royce, a driver, the mortgage, the bills, the groundsman, the food, 100% of that is paid for by my financial fortress, which means my quality of living and my financial security hasn't changed a penny since I moved into that property. And I could stop work tomorrow out of choice or necessity and still live in that house, which is absolutely bonkers. But the only way I did that was thinking big. And then looking at what was in sight and out of reach, and then seeing, was it actually a challenge to be achieved, or was it just a limiting belief? And on that case, it was a limiting belief. Number 15, make a list of the things to get excited about, and then take time to get excited. Now, there's two sides to this. One is, I think you need to have things to be excited about in life. Holidays, things at the weekend, date nights on a Wednesday night, anything just little, in the same way you would have accountability spikes to hold you accountable. These are little celebration spikes to keep you motivated, interested, excited, and create that excitement. So I think that's really important. It's something I've done this year and I've got lots of value from. Equally, I'm going back into my sort of spiritual space this time of year, and maybe into this next chapter of my life, is equally we should just be present and grateful and excited about the day. If you wake up and you've got a house, you're warm, you're not starving, you're not ill, you're not overly stressed or in a difficult position, we should just be grateful that we've got another day to enjoy it. So a couple of sort of edges to that sword, but make a list of things to get excited about and take time to get excited. I have a page in my journal this year, which I've done that with. Number 16, the penultimate one, is the best person you can invest time getting to know is yourself. And I would say that the last 20 years for me have been, the success of the last 20 years have been a reflection of how well I've got to know myself. And the reason that we spend a lot of time on Property Entrepreneur talking about things like journaling, reflecting, objectives, 5-year plans, 3-year plans, strengths, weaknesses, all these things that might sound academic, is actually you just really want to get to know yourself. And in the same way as raising standards, understanding those things is what takes you to the next level. Seeking critique rather than compliments, looking for feedback rather than pats on the back. You really want to get to know yourself. And a lot of the time that's not obvious or easy. And over the last few years where I've perhaps hit a bit of a plateau or got stuck or been searching for the next big thing, this has been a huge part to help me through that, because I figured out who I am and where I am and what I want and what I don't want. And I've made some big decisions, and drastic change requires drastic decisions. I've done all this stuff. And definitely getting to know myself this year really deeply again has been a game changer in that. And the best person you can invest time in getting to know is yourself. Journaling, cave time, meditation, retrospective, review, thinking, all that sort of stuff. And then finally is, and again, this is one for me where I am sort of moving to that sort of highest chairman level now, is that progress doesn't need to be painful. You know, I've been stuck in this vicious cycle for the last maybe 5 years, where every year I've burnt myself out through summer because I feel like progress needs to be painful because I've been masochistic in the past. Hard work has driven me to be where I am. Just pure burning myself out has got me like significant results, breaking records, made me a lot of money. But actually at my level, it's my head, not my hands, that will take me forward. And at the highest level, hard work is actually a false economy. And Warren Buffett is one of my heroes for the year ahead. And the things I'm reading about him now is all about, he spends most of his time reading and thinking. He'll make 1 or 2 deals a year, or do 1 or 2 deals a year. And, you know, that's enough for him because he only does good deals. He might only make 1 or 2 decisions a month or a quarter, but they're great decisions and he takes time to make the right ones. That's really for me. And at this level, progress doesn't need to be painful. Hopefully you got some value from that. That was my 17 lessons learned for 2023. Going into the next year, I'm going to share with you now, for those of you that stayed tuned till the end, the year of. So my year of for 2024 is going to be, and if you want to know how to do this, year of, listen to podcast episode 126. So podcast episode 126 will take you through the blueprint that I use for year of, and that we've been teaching for a decade on Property Entrepreneur to create your year of for the year ahead. Mine for 2024 is the year of the middle lane, which probably isn't a surprise from what I've just shared. And the subtitle for that is no extremes. So the tangible target is no extremes. No weight cuts, no bulking, no breaking records, no ridiculous challenges, no working 18-hour days, no working at the weekends, all of this sort of stuff. Like no extremes. No, just middle lane in it. My 3 personal objectives. So the first is to be a fit father. So I'm getting older now and hopefully I'm going to be blessed with starting a family. And my plan is to make sure that I am one of the fittest guys at the school gate, despite probably being a bit older than some of them. My tangible target for that is 4 cardio and 4 weights. So 4 cardio sessions a week, 4 weight sessions a week, and that's middle lane for me. That's just normal. It's no extremes. It's what I do anyway and have done for the last 18 months. And then so fit father, present partner. And for present partner, it will be date nights on a Wednesday and then quarterly breaks, so a holiday away every quarter. The second personal objective is make a house a home. So I've bought this new house and I want to make it a home. So I'm actually getting back on the tools and do a lot of it myself with my spare time that I'm not going to be working on the business or in the business, for want of a better phrase. I'll be on the tools doing my house. And my house is actually a development as well. So I'm developing a 3 or 4 bed house in the West Wing. Once I've finished the development, there'll obviously be a significant capital gain on the building, develop the grounds. It is a deal, so I can sort of quite happily in my head do it, knowing that it's adding value. Although for this year, that's not actually part of the objective. It just makes it easier. But making a house a home is getting on the tools, not just saying, here's £500,000, I'm going to roll out the trades and the interior designer. I'm going to come back after a 2-month holiday and it's all done and furnished. I'm actually going to do it myself. I'm going to get on the tools. I'm going to choose the furniture because I do actually enjoy that stuff. Although I choose not to do it at work, I do quite enjoy doing it at home. And I've done the first bedroom, which you'll see posts on my social media, and I've really enjoyed it. Feel really proud of it, and it definitely makes a house feel like home. So the tangible target for that is going to be a list of the projects that I've got to complete: the bedroom, the west wing, the grounds, the lounge, and make a house a home. The third is no stress. I've not completely decided on this yet. I'm recording this in the middle of December, so it will be finished by the time the year starts. The third is no stress, something around that, and I don't know how to articulate that just yet. No stress, being at peace, being present, self-care, self-love. Not really quite nailed that one yet, and I need a tangible target to go with it. The next one is professional objectives. So for professional objectives, the first is balance the books. So I've obviously had a significant capital event in buying my new house. I've also had a significant project complete, so I've refinanced that. I've basically got money here, there and everywhere. I've increased my outgoings. I've moved things around. I basically want to balance the books and make sure everything is 100% complete and compliant on my wealth side of things. So adjusting everything, rebalancing directors' loans, if there's any intercompany loans that need dealing with, any high rates versus low rates, basically just spending a year balancing the books, settling everything down and going from norm to perform on that side of things. Tangible target is 100% complete and compliant on everything wealth management. The second is to be early. So start nothing and finish everything. I don't want to start any new projects. I don't want to buy any more developments. I don't want to buy or sell any companies. Start no new projects, but finish all the ones that I've got on. My tangible target for that is a list of the projects. And then obviously the aim is to finish those and not add any projects to that. And then the third professional objective is the chairman. And for me, this is all about working in the garden. And working is in inverted commas. As I said in my lessons learned, I need to work in my head, not my hands. I feel like I'm a lot more effective in my sort of creative process when I'm busy. So a lot of people say when they're in the shower, which works for me, or if I'm doing the washing up or I'm working on the tools in the house, in the garden, that's probably where I do my best thinking. You know, if I'm spending a day painting a wall, painting a room, my hands are busy and I'm occupied, but actually in my head, I'm probably thinking about solving a problem or optimizing a deal or something strategic. So working in the garden is going to be one of my objectives for next year. And my tangible target, I'm not completely committed to yet, but at the minute I've got 25 hours a week maximum at my desk. So at my desk, on my laptop, 25 hours worth of trackable time a week. Outside of that, I'm on the tools, I'm in the garden. If I am doing any work, it's in my head and not with my hands. My challenge for this year is going to be to stay at the sweet spot. And I'm going to decide a holding weight range and hold my weight there for 12 months. No drastic increase in weight, bulking, no drastic reduction in weight, cutting, just staying in the middle lane. My adventure for the year is hopefully starting a family. So really committing now to starting a family, having a first child and committing to that. You know, God permitting, that is an option for me. And hopefully that'll be my adventure for this year, whatever that looks like. My reward for the year is to enjoy the view. As I alluded earlier in this podcast, taking the time to smell the roses and like just pulling into my drive every day and looking at my house and just being chuffed with it, rather than it becoming the new normal and like, right, this is just where I live now. It's like taking a minute every day, in every moment and just being, not rushing and thinking about the future, but just enjoying the view, taking time to enjoy it, celebrating my successes, smelling the roses, maybe spending a bit of money, developing the house, all that sort of stuff is my reward. And I'm not going to wait till the end of the year for that. This year is my reward. You know, that is my reward. And then finally, my 70-20-10 is going to be 70% property entrepreneur. Property entrepreneur really is going to the next level again this year. So 70% of my time is committed to property entrepreneur. 20% is going to be on the house as a project. So developing the hall, turning it into a dream house, developing the grounds, the west wing, etc. And then 10% is going to be my financial fortress. It's just making sure everything's 100% compliant, complete, just adjusting things, going from norm to perform, and just really nailing that down. So that has been the 200th episode. That has been my 17 lessons learned for 2023. And that is my year of for 2024. I hope you got value from this episode. If you've not done a year of for 2024, go back and listen to the Blueprint podcast episode 126 to achieve how you can do the same. And you will have absolute clarity of what you're going to do in the year ahead. Can crack on with confidence. You're going to get what you want. And keep it clear, keep it concise. And remember, you get what you focus on. Choose wisely. And thank you for joining me for this podcast. Thank you for joining me for the last 200 episodes. I hope you've enjoyed it. Make sure you share, subscribe, like on whatever channel you're listening to it. Give us a review if you can. And I will see you again on the next episode.